Yeah, I mean, Bret the Hitman Hart, man. I mean, his name and moniker speak for themselves. A staple in the business. The lineage is unparalleled. And it was an honor and a privilege, and I very much looked up to him and listened to everything he said.
Guys like Goldberg that can kick somebody and ruin his career in 2 seconds, and then get inducted in the Hall of Fame and paraded around like he's a great wrestler. I don't know. He wasn't that great of a wrestler to me. He was a great guy, and I have nothing but respect for Bill, but he really f***ed up my whole life. And there's no room for that in wrestling.
Bret the Hitman Hart, a dominant force in the WWE from the late 80s and into the 90s, whether it be with his tag team partner Jim the Anvil in the Hart Foundation or as a singles competitor. Goldberg, a dominant force all of his own when he joined WCW in 1997. Unstoppable, fierce, and unbeatable. So what would happen when these two superstars would meet at WCW Starrcade on December 19th, 1999? Well, this is what happened. Bret Hart had left the WWE to go to WCW in late 1997, and after initially starting as a face in WCW, Bret's character would eventually turn heel. And so we come to an edition of Monday Nitro in March of 1999 in Toronto, where Bret Hart came out for a promo and he was burying all the legends of the business, and then brought up Goldberg's name and challenged him to come out. Goldberg did. He ended up sparing the Hitman, but the Hitman had a little trick up his sleeve in the form of a steel plate, which had the crowd cheering. And after the incident, Bret Hart said, "I quit." It was just 2 months later in May of '99 when Bret Hart's brother Owen tragically died. Owen was descending from the rafters at a WWE event when he fell to his death. The Hitman understandably took some time off at this point, but returned to WCW in September of 1999. In October, he wrestled fellow Canadian Chris Benoit in an absolute wrestling classic on Monday Nitro in a tribute to his late brother Owen. And the Hitman was finally given the push he was waiting for, winning the WCW World Heavyweight Championship in the tournament finals at WCW Mayhem. And it was shortly after this that Bret Hart and Goldberg won the Tag Team Championships. So we come to Starrcade and the match that would ultimately end Bret the Hitman Hart's in-ring career. Bret Hart was 42 years old at the time and sure had a lot of wrestling years left in him yet. But it wasn't to be. Many wrestlers had accused Bill Goldberg of being stiff in the ring, and he still was pretty new to the business and didn't have that wrestling lineage that many other pro wrestlers have. He was kind of just brought in by Eric Bischoff to squash guys, decimate opponents quickly and get a huge crowd reaction. Which he did, and for the most part it was very entertaining and it worked. But on this night, something did not work. During the match, Goldberg landed a huge sidekick on the Hitman. Bret Hart suffered post-concussion syndrome that he suffered through for weeks after this, and was forced into retirement.
And it's funny, one of the first things I said to Bill Goldberg going out to the ring was for Bill not to hurt me. I said, "Bill, whatever you do, don't hurt me." And he throws me in the ropes for this mule kick. And if you ever watch it back, there's no work in it whatsoever. He threw me in the ropes and kicked me with every ounce of strength he had in his whole body, with every full extension. His leg is completely straight. If you learn pro wrestling, Bill, you'll know that you bend your leg a little bit. And I turned and he kicked me so hard here in the back of my head, right in the back of my brain, tore this muscle in half, which will never go back. I've got a hole this big in my muscle in my neck. Went down, held my neck, and I saw a million stars. That was the injury. I can't remember much after. I don't remember I remember the match because I've seen it on videotape, and I can remember it. So you do. I remember in the dressing room, nobody took care of me. There's no doctor. I had a trainer come up and hand me a couple of Advils. No one helped me to my car. No one took me to the hospital or checked on anything. No one even did the nothing. I got back to my hotel room that night, staggered through the lobby of the hotel, barely made it to my room, passed out with all my clothes on bed.
Bret was able to wrestle through to the end of this match. However, Roddy Piper came out. The Hitman ended up getting Goldberg in a sharpshooter where Piper rang the bell. It was a screw job. The belt was awarded to the Hitman, but he didn't want to win it like that, so he vacated the title. And incidentally, the Hitman and Goldberg had a rematch on Nitro for the World Heavyweight Championship, which the Hitman won, and that was due to outside interference from Hall and Nash. Hence, we get the introduction of the NWO 2000, which featured Bret Hart with Hall and Nash amongst others. The Hitman continued to work for just a few more weeks after the Starrcade match, and then his injury became just too much. Here, Bret talks about taking even more bumps in the couple of weeks following that Starrcade kick.
I'm being chokeslammed every night by Sid. I'm being powerbombed by Kevin Nash. All the worst things you can have with a concussion. When Sid powerbombed me in that match with him, he interfered at the end. When he powerbombed me at the end of that, I saw 1,000,000 stars. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. I saw these silver dots like this, just thousands of them, millions of them, lying in the ring. And I said, okay, you've had another concussion. Like I could tell, I had rocked my head. It was getting where I was seeing silver, like the color of solder.
Right.
That silver.
Did Goldberg try to injure Bret Hart on purpose? Of course he didn't. It was an accident. Goldberg was accused of being too stiff in the ring at times, and on this occasion it looked like he was. Just didn't have that experience, that in-ring know-how to do things properly in there. Most of the time he was fine, but not on this occasion, and Bret Hart paid the consequences. Here it is in Bill Goldberg's words.
I would have loved to have worked a little bit more with Bret Hart, and I would have loved more than anything to have not kicked Bret Hart in the head, and what happened. There have been things said on the internet, either by Bret or other people, that I was malicious and he shouldn't have been in the ring with me, and hey, I'm really sorry, man, but if I really wanted to hurt the guy, he would never have gotten up. Okay, and I'm no joke. He would have gotten up. But accidents happen, and he was an idol of mine and still is. And that's one thing that I'll forever be remorseful for is the misplaced kick. And we did kind of know it was coming, but there are a couple things in my career that I wish I could have changed. That was one of them. The length that I had an angle with him and my inability to be professional enough to pull the kick. But it meant very much to me to be believable.
And Goldberg added this in a 2022 interview on the Talk is Jericho podcast, saying there was absolutely no malicious intent whatsoever. None. Zero. So, does it bother me? Yeah, I'll take it to my grave. But also I gotta say, and I've kind of got it at a turning point, I'm done saying I'm sorry. I've said it 1,000,000 times. And I'm not going to continue to tear myself down. I'm done. I said I'm sorry. If you can't accept my apology, it is what it is. You got to move on, and I moved on. So I won't be breached on this subject too much more. Bret Hart wrestled his final match in WCW on January the 10th in 2000, as we say, just a few weeks after the Starrcade incident. That match was against Kevin Nash when he defended his World Championship. The match ended in a no contest. Due to his head injury, he was forced to vacate the WCW Championship and was pulled out of the upcoming sold-out pay-per-view. And just when WCW were finally starting to give Bret Hitman Hart some of the limelight, some of those main event matches, making him champion, the rug was well and truly pulled from under him. He had just lost his brother Owen only months before, and now his career was over. A very tragic end indeed for the excellence of execution. The Hitman came back in 2010 for a match against Vince McMahon, his former boss, the guy who screwed him over at the Survivor Series in 1997. The match took place at WrestleMania 26. It was more of a fun, light-hearted match with the Hitman, of course, not taking any bumps. But it was still cool to see this happen. The Hitman has remained very close with the WWE. In 2006, he was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. He has since remarried in 2010, and from all those struggles and adversities that he has faced during his life, he seems to be at a pretty comfortable spot in his life now. But at just 42 years old, having to hang up those wrestling boots due to that tragic accident was just such an unfair blow to the Hitman, not only for his personal health, but of course he could have wowed audiences with that amazing wrestling ability that he had for years to come. But unfortunately it wasn't to be, and something that of course Goldberg still feels very bad about to this day. Thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to drop a like down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks heaps, guys, for tuning into the video. Be sure to drop a scorpion death drop on that like button and subscribe to the channel for more awesome pro wrestling action from the WWE, the WCW, and much more.